He wipes his hands on a rag that is more grease than cotton. The movement is slow, deliberate. He does not rush. He never rushes. The smell of diesel and salt hangs in the air of the workshop, a perfume he has known his entire life. It is the smell of honest work. It is the smell of solitude. Tools hang on the pegboard behind him, each in its perfect silver outline. They are clean. They are cared for. They are extensions of his hands, his mind. Caleb listens to the engine, not with his ears, but with his fingertips, pressed lightly against the cold steel of the block. He feels the vibration, the subtle tremor that tells a story no diagnostic machine can fully translate. It speaks of wear, of stress, of a life spent pushing against the unyielding pressure of the sea. He closes his eyes for a count of 3. He understands. A small sound pulls him from his focus. A pencil scratching against paper. He turns. His daughter Lily sits on an overturned crate, her small legs swinging. She is 6 years old. Her brow is furrowed in concentration, a perfect mirror of his own. A large sheet of butcher paper is spread before her, covered in the intricate, impossible schematics of a child's imagination, boats with wings, submarines with legs. "It needs another propeller, Daddy," she says, not looking up. Her voice is a small, clean bell in the cavernous space. "For going sideways." Caleb smiles. It is a rare thing, and it softens the hard lines of his face. "A bow thruster," he says. "A bow thruster," she repeats, tasting the words. She carefully draws another swirling circle on the side of her fantastical vessel. He does not tell her it is in the wrong place. He does not correct her. He simply watches her create. He provides the paper and the pencils and the quiet space for her to work. He protects this small world they have built together from the noise of the one outside. It is a world of 2 people, of humming engines and the scent of toast in the morning. It is enough. The large bay door groans open, flooding the dim workshop with the harsh, flat light of a cloudy afternoon. The sudden brightness makes them both blink. Caleb instinctively moves to stand slightly in front of Lily's crate. A woman stands silhouetted against the opening. She is tall, dressed in a dark, impeccably tailored suit that seems entirely out of place among the oil drums and chain hoists. Her shoes click with sharp authority on the concrete floor. Behind her, a man follows, his own suit a shade too slick, his smile a degree too wide. Caleb recognizes him. Marcus Thorne. A man who moves through the world like a shark through shallow water. The woman is Eleanor Vance. He knows the face from the company newsletters and the business section of the local paper. The new CEO. The inheritor. Her father, Arthur Vance, was a different sort of person entirely. Arthur would come to this workshop in worn jeans and talk for hours about piston displacement and the pure, simple joy of a perfectly balanced crankshaft. Arthur understood. Eleanor Vance's eyes sweep the workshop, and her expression is one of profound distaste. She does not see the order in the chaos. She sees only grime. She does not smell the history. She smells only fumes. Her gaze lands on Caleb, and it is not a gaze of inquiry. It is a gaze of judgment. "This is him," Marcus says, his voice smooth and condescending. "Caleb, one of the fixtures your father insisted on keeping." Eleanor's eyes narrow. She holds a tablet in her hand, and she taps the screen with a manicured finger. The one with the efficiency reports consistently below target. The one who refuses to adopt the new diagnostic protocols. Caleb remains silent. He lets the accusations hang in the air. He does not say that the new protocols are flawed, that they rely on software that cannot detect the hairline fracture he found in the K-series turbine last month, the one that would have failed catastrophically 100 miles offshore. He does not say that his efficiency is spent on getting the job right, not getting it done fast. He does not say anything. "We're streamlining, Caleb," Marcus says, the name rolling off his tongue with false familiarity. "New era for Vance Maritime. We can't afford to carry sentimental dead weight." Caleb's gaze does not waver from Eleanor Vance. He sees the grief in her eyes, buried deep beneath the armor of corporate power. He sees the uncertainty. She is trying to prove something. To her father's ghost, to the board of directors, to herself. And Marcus is using that uncertainty, twisting it. "My father trusted him," Eleanor says, but the words are a question, not a statement. She is looking at the tablet, not at the man. "Your father was a great man," Marcus replies, his tone dripping with practiced sympathy. "But he was loyal to a fault. He saw potential. I see redundancy. The loading dock has a team of 4 men doing the work of 10, because our engine refits are constantly behind schedule. This is the bottleneck." Eleanor looks up from the tablet. Her jaw is set. She has made a decision. She has listened to the man with the easy answers, not the silence of the workshop. She takes a step forward. "Your position is no longer viable within the company's new structure," she says. Her voice is cold, rehearsed. It is the voice of a press release. "We need team players who are aligned with our forward-looking strategy." Lily has stopped drawing. Her pencil is held motionless above the paper. She watches the tall, sharp woman. She does not understand the words, but she understands the tone. It is the tone people use when they are breaking something. Caleb meets Eleanor's gaze. He holds it for a long, quiet count. He wants her to see him. Not the name on her tablet, not the problem Marcus has created for her to solve. He wants her to see the man standing in front of her. But her eyes are hard, polished stones. She misinterprets his silence as defiance. A flicker of anger crosses her face. "Clean out your workspace. Go back to the loading dock. Maybe you can be of some use there." The words are meant to sting. They are meant to humiliate. They are a public execution of his legacy, his skill. Marcus smirks, a brief, triumphant flash of teeth. Caleb does not flinch. He does not argue. He does not defend the decades of work, the countless nights spent coaxing life back into dead machines, the innovations her father had called brilliant. He gives a single, slow nod, an acceptance of her verdict. He turns his back on them. He walks to his workbench. He picks up the rag, the one that is more grease than cotton, and he carefully, methodically begins to wipe down his tools. A wrench, a micrometer, a torque driver. Each one is cleaned and placed into the worn leather roll he has owned since he was an apprentice. The sounds are small, precise, the click of metal on metal, the soft sigh of the leather unrolling. He does not look at them again. He does not acknowledge their presence. He simply packs his life's work. When he is done, he rolls the tool belt closed, pulls the straps tight, and slings it over his shoulder. He walks to the overturned crate and crouches down in front of his daughter. "Time to go, sweet pea," he says softly. His voice, for the first time, is audible to the intruders. It is gentle. Lily looks past him at Eleanor. Her small face is serious. She holds up her drawing. For the lady, she whispers. Caleb takes the drawing. He walks over to Eleanor Vance. He holds it out to her. On the paper, amidst the winged boats and legged submarines, is a drawing of a woman with sharp shoulders and a sad face. Eleanor stares at the paper, then at him. She does not take it. Her hands remain clenched at her sides. He does not let his hand drop. He waits. For exactly 5 seconds. Then, he retracts his arm, carefully rolls up the drawing, and tucks it into his jacket pocket. He takes Lily's hand. Together, they walk out of the workshop, past the CEO and her COO, and into the flat, grey light of the afternoon. They do not look back. Eleanor Vance stands in the sudden silence of the workshop. The only sound is the slow, metallic tick of a cooling engine block. The smell of diesel and salt seems to accuse her. She feels the weight of the man's silent departure. It is heavier than any argument, any shouted curse. It is a vacuum, and the force of it rattles her more than she would ever admit. "Good riddance," Marcus says, breaking the quiet. Now we can finally move forward. Eleanor does not answer. She looks at the empty space where Caleb had stood. She looks at the workbench, wiped clean. She looks at the pegboard, where the perfect silver outlines of the missing tools seem like ghosts. She has a sickening feeling that she has not moved forward at all. She has just broken something important. And she does not know why. The glass walls of her office do not feel like windows. They feel like an aquarium. She sits at a vast, empty desk of polished steel and reclaimed wood, watching the city lights blur into cold, distant stars. The city is a machine, just like her company. All its parts must function efficiently, without sentiment. That is what she tells herself. It is the mantra that gets her through the long, silent nights since her father's death. But the silence in her office is different from the silence in the workshop. This silence is sterile, empty. His was full. It was full of the hum of potential energy, the history of work, the quiet presence of a child. She replays the scene, over and over. The way he stood, the calm in his eyes. It was not the look of a guilty man, a lazy man. It was the look of a man who knew a truth she did not. And his lack of defense, his simple, dignified acceptance, it is a puzzle her mind cannot solve. It feels less like a dismissal and more like a judgment. Here's upon her. The intercom on her desk buzzes, a harsh, unwelcome sound. "Mr. Thorne is here to see you, Miss Vance." "Send him in." Marcus enters, carrying 2 glasses of whiskey. He places one on her desk. The amber liquid catches the light. "To a new era," he says, his smile as smooth as the liquor. "You were decisive today, Eleanor. Strong. It's what the board needed to see. It's what your father would have wanted." She does not touch the glass. "My father would have talked to him." Marcus sighs, a theatrical display of patience. Your father's kindness was his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. He couldn't see when people were taking advantage of him. Caleb was a pet project, a charity case. The numbers don't lie. He gestures at the tablet still sitting on her desk, displaying the damning performance charts he himself prepared. "He didn't look like a charity case," she says, her voice quiet. "They never do," Marcus says, taking a sip of his whiskey. "Don't let it bother you. He'll be happier on the docks. Less pressure." It's a kindness, really. She looks at him, at the easy confidence in his posture, the self-satisfaction in his eyes. For the first time, a hairline crack appears in her certainty, a tiny, almost invisible fracture. She dismisses it. It is grief, she tells herself. It is the stress of her new role. Marcus is right. The numbers do not lie. 2 days later, the crisis hits. The Venture, the company's new flagship vessel, goes dark. It sits in the main dry dock, a gleaming monument to modern naval architecture, utterly dead. It is scheduled for a sea trial demonstration for Admiral Hayes of the United States Navy in less than 24 hours. This contract is not just a contract. It is the cornerstone of the company's future, the very forward-looking strategy Eleanor has been preaching. Panic is a quiet, cold sickness that spreads through the executive wing. Marcus's hand-picked engineering team, a group of young, bright technicians who speak fluent software but not hardware, are crawling all over the vessel. They connect laptops, run diagnostics, and produce pages of useless code. The engines, a revolutionary hybrid electric system, remain inert. It's a cascade failure in the primary control module, the lead engineer tells her, his face pale. The software is corrupt. We've tried to reboot, but it's not responding. Marcus stands beside her on the dock, his usual composure beginning to fray. They can fix it. They just need more time. We don't have more time, Eleanor says, the words like ice chips. She looks at the massive, silent yacht. It is her first great test, and she is failing. An old foreman, a man named Sal who has worked at the shipyard since before she was born, approaches them. He holds his hard hat in his gnarled hands. He does not look at Marcus. He speaks directly to Eleanor. "Miss Vance," he says, his voice raspy. "The software isn't the problem. The problem is the Governor Assembly. It's a custom job. Your father and Caleb designed it. There's a manual override, a mechanical failsafe, but only one person knows how it works." Marcus scoffs. "An old mechanic?" "Sal, this is a state-of-the-art digital system. We need coders, not wrench-turners." Sal does not back down. He keeps his eyes on Eleanor. "With respect, Mr. Thorne, that engine has a heart. And Caleb is the only one who knows how to listen to it." The word hangs in the air. Heart. It echoes the strange, simple thing the child said. "Daddy says boats have hearts." Eleanor looks from the frantic, failing tech team to the quiet certainty on Sal's face. The hairline crack in her confidence widens into a fissure. She makes another decision. "Find him," she says. "Get him here." Now it takes an hour. An hour of excruciating silence and the rising tide of failure. When Caleb arrives, he is not wearing company overalls. He is in jeans and a worn flannel shirt. He carries the same leather tool roll he left with. Lily is with him, holding his hand. She looks at the giant dead boat with wide, curious eyes. Caleb does not look at Eleanor. He looks at the Venture. He walks to the edge of the dock and simply stands there for a full minute, listening. The tech team stops their frantic typing, watching him with a mixture of scorn and desperation. "They're flooding the injectors," he says, to no one in particular. "The system thinks it's starting up, but the physical fuel line is closed by the failsafe. It'll burn out the module if they keep doing that." He walks aboard. Eleanor and a nervous Marcus follow. He does not go to the gleaming bridge with its walls of touchscreens. He heads down, deep into the belly of the ship, to the engine room. The air is hot and smells of ozone. He unrolls his tools on a clean patch of deck plating. He moves with an unhurried grace, his actions economical and precise. He ignores the engineers and their laptops. He places a hand on the engine housing, just as he had in his workshop. He closes his eyes. "Tell them to shut down all power," he says. A hard shutdown. From the mains, the lead engineer starts to object. "That's not the procedure. It could wipe the—" "Do it," Eleanor snaps. The lights flicker and die, plunging the engine room into near darkness, lit only by emergency strobes. The hum of electronics ceases. The silence is absolute. For the next 20 minutes, Caleb works. He uses a wrench, a feeler gauge, and a small, specialized driver that is not standard issue. He does not speak. The only sounds are the scrape of metal, the soft click of components seating into place. He is not fighting the machine. He is in conversation with it. He finishes. He stands up and wipes his hands on a rag from his back pocket. "All right," he says. "Bring the power back online." Slowly, the lights hum back to life. The computer screens on the bridge flicker on, one by one. A low, powerful thrum begins to vibrate through the deck. It grows into a steady, healthy roar. The Venture is alive. On the bridge, the lead engineer stares at his screen, his mouth hanging open. Everything is green. All systems are nominal. I don't understand. The code is unchanged. Marcus is speechless. His face is a mask of disbelief and fury. He has been proven wrong, and in the most public way possible. Caleb is already packing his tools. His work is done. He turns to leave. Eleanor follows him out onto the deck. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the shipyard. Lily runs to her father, wrapping her arms around his leg. "Thank you," Eleanor says. The words feel small, inadequate. We owe you." Caleb looks at her. For the first time, he really looks at her. There is no triumph in his eyes. There is no "I told you so." There is only a deep, abiding weariness. The boat didn't do anything wrong, he says. It deserved to run. He is not talking about the boat, not entirely. He turns to walk away. As he does, Lily shyly approaches Eleanor. She holds out a piece of paper. It is another drawing. This one is of the big boat, the Venture. And next to it there is a small stick figure of a man with a wrench, and he is holding the hand of a stick figure woman in a pointy dress. "Daddy says boats have hearts," Lily says, her voice barely a whisper. "And you have to listen to them, or they get sad." Eleanor takes the drawing. Her fingers tremble slightly. She looks at the simple, profound truth of the child's art. She looks at Caleb's retreating back. He is walking away from the company, from the boat he saved, from the legacy he shared with her father. And she understands, with a sudden, gut-wrenching clarity, that she is the one who made it sad. The fissure of doubt within her breaks wide open. She is standing on the wrong side of everything. That night, she cannot sleep. The child's drawing sits on the nightstand next to her bed. She goes to her father's study, a room she has barely entered since his death. It is preserved as he left it. Books on naval history, blueprints spread across a massive drafting table, the faint, lingering scent of pipe tobacco. It feels like a tomb. She runs a hand over the back of his leather chair. She is trying to find an answer here, a piece of the father she knew. The man who would spend hours in a greasy workshop talking about engines. Why would that man keep a redundant employee? Why would he trust someone who, according to Marcus's data, was a failure? Her eyes fall upon a row of project binders on a shelf. Each is labeled in her father's neat architectural script. She pulls one down. Venture, prototype phase. She flips through the pages. Technical specifications, budget projections, timelines, and notes. Hundreds of notes scribbled in the margins in her father's familiar red ink. A phrase catches her eye. Caleb's governor design is the key. Brilliant. Protect it at all costs. She stops. She reads it again. Caleb's design, not a company design. His, she flips further. Another note, attached to a complex schematic she doesn't understand. Trust only see. On this, he sees the whole machine. The tablet, the charts, Marcus's smooth, reassuring voice. They all begin to dissolve. She is holding a different story in her hands. She spends the rest of the night going through every binder, every folder related to the company's advanced projects. A pattern emerges. On every critical, innovative piece of technology developed in the last 15 years, the same initial appears in her father's notes. C. Sometimes Caleb. His name is a secret thread woven through the company's greatest successes. The next morning, she bypasses the corporate offices. She drives to the shipyards, but not to the main entrance. She goes to a small waterfront area, dotted with old warehouses and independent marine supply shops. She finds the one she is looking for, O'Malley's Marine and Tackle. An old, faded sign swings in the salty breeze. The man behind the counter is as weathered as the sign. His face is a roadmap of deep lines, his hands thick and calloused. This is George O'Malley, her father's oldest friend. He had been the best man at her parents' wedding. He recognizes her immediately. His expression is guarded. "Eleanor," he says, "it is not a warm greeting." "George, I need to talk to you," she says, getting straight to the point. "About my father. And about Caleb." George busies himself polishing a brass compass. The rhythmic squeak of the cloth is the only sound for a long moment. "Not much to say," he finally answers, not meeting her eye. "Arthur's gone. And you fired the best man he ever knew." The words are a direct hit. There is no corporate politeness here, only the blunt truth of an old man who has earned the right to speak it. "I think I made a mistake," she says, her voice low. "I need to understand why my father trusted him so much." George stops polishing. He sets the compass down. He looks at her, and his eyes are sharp, appraising he is testing her. Arthur didn't just trust Caleb, he respected him. There's a difference. Trust is about character. Respect is about skill. Caleb has more of both in his little finger than that snake Thorn has in his whole body. "Thorn?" "Oh, come on, girl," George scoffs. "You're Arthur's daughter. You can't be that blind. Marcus has been playing you from the moment you walked through the door. He's been poisoning the well against Caleb for years." "Why?" she asks. "What did Caleb ever do to him?" "He was better," George says simply. "And your father knew it. Arthur was grooming Caleb. Not for a corporate job. Caleb would never want that. He was grooming him to be the guardian of the company's soul. The one who made sure Vance Maritime built great things, not just profitable ones." He leans forward, his voice dropping. "There was an incident, 5 years ago. The Poseidon project. A catastrophic turbine failure during a sea trial. Cost the company millions. Ruined our bid with a major shipping line. Eleanor remembers it. It was a dark chapter. The official report blamed a design flaw and a lapse in quality control. It led to a major restructuring. Marcus was the project lead," George continues. "The failure was his. He cut corners, used a cheaper alloy for the turbine blades to bring the project in under budget and make himself look good. Caleb warned him. Warned your father. He had the metallurgical reports to prove it. But Marcus buried them. When the turbine blew, Marcus panicked. He doctored the records, made it look like Caleb signed off on the faulty materials. Why would Caleb let him?" Eleanor asks, horrified. "Because your father asked him to," George says, his voice heavy with the weight of the memory. "The company was vulnerable. A scandal involving a senior executive like Marcus would have triggered a hostile takeover. We'd have been carved up and sold for parts. So Arthur made a deal with the devil. He buried the truth to save the company. And Caleb, because he is who he is, agreed to take the quiet fall. He was moved off advanced projects, his reputation tarnished internally. He accepted it to protect the legacy of the man he respected. He was protecting your inheritance, Eleanor. All he asked in return was that he be allowed to keep his workshop, to keep his hands on the engines." Eleanor feels a wave of nausea. The entire foundation of her understanding cracks and falls away, leaving her in a free fall. She has not been honoring her father's legacy. She has been dismantling it, piece by piece, guided by the very man who betrayed him. "Where is he now?" she asks. George gives her an address, a small rented workshop in an industrial park on the other side of the bay. "Don't go there to apologize," he warns her. "Apologies are words. Go there to see." She follows his advice. She does not drive to the workshop. She parks a block away and walks. She finds a vantage point from across the street, partially hidden by a stack of lobster traps. The workshop is small, the paint peeling, but the windows are clean. She watches. For over an hour, she just watches. She sees Caleb working on a small, battered fishing boat engine. His movements are a form of meditation. There is no wasted energy. Every action has a purpose. He is not just fixing a machine, he is restoring it. Lily is there, sitting at a small table, doing her homework. At one point, she gets up and asks her father a question. He puts down his tools, wipes his hands, and kneels beside her, pointing to something in her book. He is patient, fully present. The love between them is a tangible thing, a quiet, powerful force that fills the small, dusty space. She sees the integrity, she sees the gentle parenting, she sees the quiet craftsman living a life of profound dignity, a life she, in her arrogance and ignorance, tried to shatter. The shame is a physical weight in her chest. George was right. Seeing is different. That evening, fueled by a cold, clear rage, she goes back to her father's study. She is no longer looking for answers. She is looking for a weapon. She tears the room apart, not with violence, but with a methodical intensity. She opens every book, checks every drawer, taps every wall panel. She knows her father. He was a builder. He built fail-safes into everything. Behind a false backing in his humidor, she finds it. A small, flat key. It does not belong to any door in the house. She thinks of the one place she has never accessed, the small private safe set into the floor of his corporate office, the one the company lawyers told her contained only personal effects of no business value. She drives to the deserted Vance Maritime headquarters. The night security guard lets her in without question. In her silent, glass-walled office, she pulls back the rug and works the combination. The heavy door swings open. Inside is a single, hand-tooled leather portfolio, sealed with wax. Her father's wax seal. She takes it to her desk. Her hands are shaking as she breaks the seal and opens the portfolio. It contains 3 things. The first is a sheaf of documents, the original, unaltered metallurgical reports from the Poseidon project showing Caleb's warnings, copies of bank statements showing transfers from the subcontractor who supplied the faulty alloy into an offshore account owned by Marcus Thorne. Undeniable, systematic proof of his sabotage and embezzlement. The second is a letter written on her father's personal stationery. A personal will, not of assets, but of philosophy. In it, he designates Caleb as a silent partner, the holder of a single, non-transferable legacy share that gives him veto power over any action that would compromise the engineering integrity of the company. It comes with a detailed set of plans for a revolutionary marine engine, codenamed Helios, that he and Caleb designed together in secret. It was to be their masterpiece. The third, and last, item is a sealed envelope with her name on it. She opens it. "My dearest Eleanor," the letter begins. "If you are reading this, it means you have looked past the noise and found the truth for yourself. I am so proud of you. I have left you a company, but it is an empty shell without its soul. Its soul is in the hands of Caleb. He is the finest man I have ever known. He is honest in a way that is so rare it is often mistaken for weakness. I burdened him with a terrible secret to protect this company, to protect you. I asked him to endure the whispers and the sidelong glances, and he did it without complaint. I am asking you now to make it right. Trust him. Trust his hands. Trust his silence. He will never steer you wrong. Beware of the man who always has the easy answer. The world is not built on easy answers. It is built on hard work, on integrity, and on listening to the heart of the machine. Your loving father, Arthur." She reads the letter 3 times. The tears she has held back for months finally fall. They are not tears of grief for her father, but tears of shame for herself. She has betrayed every single thing he believed in. The next morning, she drives to Caleb's workshop. She does not park down the street. She pulls right up to the bay door. She carries the leather portfolio. He is there, grinding a valve seat. He shuts off the machine when he sees her, the high-pitched whine dying into silence. He does not smile, he simply waits. Lily is not there. He must have taken her to school. They are alone. I know, Eleanor says, her voice thick with emotion. I know everything. The Poseidon project. The lies. What my father asked of you. She places the portfolio on a clean workbench between them. He left this for me. Caleb looks at the portfolio, then back at her. His expression is unreadable. He picks up a rag and wipes his hands, the same slow, deliberate motion as before. I am so sorry, she says, the words raw, stripped of all corporate polish. What I did, what I said, there is no excuse. He listens. He just listens. The silence stretches, pulling the tension in the room taut. She needs him to say something, to yell, to accuse, to absolve. But he offers nothing. Why? She finally asks, her voice breaking. Why didn't you say anything? Why did you let me do that to you? He finally speaks. His voice is low, calm, without a trace of anger. Because you were grieving, he says, and you didn't know who I was. You only knew what you were told. A person has to see the truth for themselves. Telling them doesn't work. He taps the portfolio. Your father knew that. The simple, profound grace of his answer undoes her completely. He endured public humiliation not just for her father, but for her. He was giving her the space to find her own way, even at his own expense. At that moment, the door to the small office at the back of the workshop opens. Lily steps out, holding 2 steaming mugs. She must have been there all along. She walks carefully toward them. She hands the first mug to her father. Then she turns and holds the second mug out to Eleanor. It is hot chocolate. A small marshmallow bobs on the surface. Her expression is solemn, a silent offering of peace. Eleanor looks from the child's hopeful face to Caleb's quiet one. She reaches out and takes the mug. Her cold fingers wrap around its warmth. It is an anchor, a communion. It is acceptance. We have a problem, Eleanor says, her voice steadier now. Admiral Hayes is holding the sea trial for the venture tomorrow. He's planning to pull the contract. Marcus has convinced him our systems are unreliable. Caleb takes a slow sip of his hot chocolate. The system isn't the problem, he says. The design is sound. But it's not finished. He looks at the portfolio. The Helios project, that's the real engine for that hull. Can we get it working? She asks. Working? He shakes his head. No, but I can show him the heart of it. The next day, they do not meet in a boardroom. They meet in the engine room of the venture. Admiral Hayes is a tall, imposing man with a face that looks like it was carved from granite. He stands with his arms crossed, his expression radiating impatience and skepticism. Marcus is there, looking smug. Miss Vance, the Admiral begins, his voice a low growl. I've read the reports. Your flagship was dead in the water for 6 hours. My sailors can't rely on a ship that needs a miracle to start. The ship is sound, Admiral, Eleanor says calmly. But you're right. The engine you see here is a placeholder, a compromise. She gestures to Caleb, who is standing beside a large covered object on a workbench. This is Caleb, my father's lead design partner. He has something to show you. Marcus laughs. A design partner? This is the mechanic you fired. Admiral, this is a desperate stunt. The Admiral's cold eyes shift to Caleb. What do you have to say for yourself, son? Caleb does not speak. He simply pulls the tarp off the object on the bench. It is a prototype, a scale model of the Helios core, a beautiful complex assembly of polished steel and copper wiring. It is part machine, part sculpture. He turns it on. It does not roar. It hums. A low, powerful, perfectly stable sound. He picks up a small metal feather and drops it onto the top of the housing. It doesn't even tremble. The problem with hybrid engines is the power transfer, Caleb says, his voice quiet but clear in the humming room. The switch from electric to diesel causes a lag, a power dip. Vulnerable, the Helios core eliminates that. It uses a kinetic flywheel to store rotational energy. The power transfer is seamless, instant, and completely silent. He looks at the Admiral. No heat signature, no sound profile, and it has a triple redundant mechanical control. It will never fail. He explains the design. He does not use jargon or slides. He uses his hands, pointing to the interlocking parts, explaining how they work together. He speaks with the quiet, unshakable authority of a man who knows every single bolt, every wire, by heart. He is not selling something. He is sharing a truth. The Admiral listens, his stony expression slowly changing. He walks over to the prototype. He runs a hand over the smooth, humming casing. He is a man who understands machines, and he recognizes genius when he sees it. "My God," he says softly, "Arthur was working on this? Why was this never in any of the proposals?" He glares at Marcus. Marcus is pale. It was a theoretical project, unfunded, unproven. "It looks damn proven to me," the Admiral says. He turns back to Caleb. "When can you have a full-scale version ready for trials?" 6 months, Caleb says. "You have the contract," the Admiral says, looking at Eleanor. "And I want this man overseeing every step of the installation." The boardroom is silent. The air is cold. Eleanor stands at the head of the long, polished table. Caleb stands quietly by the door, his hands clasped behind his back. The board members look from her to Marcus, their faces a mixture of confusion and anxiety. "I have called this emergency meeting," Eleanor begins, her voice steady and clear, "to address a series of financial and operational irregularities that have threatened the future of this company." She does not raise her voice. She does not use emotional language. She systematically, methodically, lays out the evidence from her father's portfolio. She projects the bank statements onto the screen, the illicit payments, the doctored invoices. She presents the original metallurgical reports from the Poseidon project, signed and dated by Caleb, next to the forged versions submitted by Marcus. Marcus sputters, objects, calls it a fabrication, a smear campaign by a disgruntled mechanic. His face is flushed, his composure shattered. "The evidence is irrefutable," Eleanor says. "For 5 years, Mr. Thorne has been systematically embezzling funds while actively sabotaging our most important projects, placing the blame on an innocent man. A man who, I will add, my father considered the most vital engineer in this company. A board member, a longtime ally of Marcus, speaks up. This is a serious accusation, Eleanor. The technical data could be misinterpreted." Eleanor looks toward the back of the room. "Caleb?" Caleb takes one step forward. All eyes turn to him. The turbine blades on the Poseidon failed because they were made from a 400 series stainless steel instead of the specified Inconel 625 alloy, he says, his voice even. The 400 series has a lower chromium content. It's cheaper, but it can't handle the heat and the saline corrosion. It was guaranteed to fail. The purchase order was signed by Mr. Thorne. The statement is simple, factual, and utterly devastating. There is no defense against it. It is the truth. The room is silent for a 10 count. Then, The oldest board member, a man who had served with Eleanor's grandfather, clears his throat. I move for the immediate termination of Marcus Thorne's employment, and for this evidence to be turned over to the district attorney. Seconded, another voice says. The vote is unanimous. Marcus sits, stunned, as Eleanor's assistant quietly calls security. 2 guards enter the room. They stand behind Marcus's chair. He is finished. As he is being escorted out, Admiral Hayes, who had been invited to observe the meeting, stands up. He does not look at the disgraced Marcus. He looks across the room at Caleb. He brings his hand up in a slow, formal salute. It is a gesture of profound respect, from one man of integrity to another. In the sterile boardroom, it is a shocking, powerful moment. The quiet craftsman, the man sent to the loading dock, is honored by a leader of the armed forces. Caleb does not salute back. He is not a military man. He simply meets the Admiral's gaze and gives a single, respectful nod. It is enough. The walk through the parking garage is quiet. The sharp clicks of Eleanor's heels echo in the vast, empty concrete space. Caleb's work boots make almost no sound. The tension of the last few days has vanished, replaced by a calm shared space between them. The showdown is over. The work is just beginning. The board approved the head of innovation position, Eleanor says as they reach her car. Your new office is next to mine. They're having it furnished. Caleb stops and looks at her. I don't need an office, Eleanor. My work isn't in a glass box. She knows this, of course. She was expecting it. What do you need? My workshop, he says. The one you shut down. He is not being accusatory. It is a simple statement of fact. That's where the real work happens. She nods. She does not argue. She does not try to pull him into her world. She understands now that his world is the one that matters. All right, she says. The company will buy that whole building. We'll make it the new Vance Maritime R&D Center. You'll run it. You'll have any budget you want, any equipment, any team you want to hire. She pauses. I'll come to you. This is her reciprocal move, her promise. She will not force him to change. She will change the company to fit him. A small smile touches Caleb's lips. I already have a team, he says. Sal, George, a few others who remember how to build things that last. He reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls something out. He places it in her hand. It is a small, heavy piece of machined metal, polished to a mirror shine. It fits perfectly in her palm. It is a miniature version of the core component from the Helios prototype. The heart, he says. She closes her fingers around it. It is cool, solid, real, a promise. Thank you, she says, 3 months later. The old workshop is transformed. It is now the heart of a state-of-the-art research facility, but the central workspace, Caleb's bench, the pegboard, Lily's drawing table, remains untouched, an island of history in a sea of new technology. The Helios prototype is complete, and it has passed every test with results that exceed all expectations. Vance Maritime's stock has soared. On a bright, windy Saturday, the 3 of them are on the water. They are aboard the Venture, its engines now running with the full-scale Helios core. The silence is astounding. There is only the sound of the hull slicing through the water and the cry of the gulls overhead. Lily is at the helm, her small hands on the giant wheel, her face alight with pure joy. Caleb stands behind her, one hand resting gently on her shoulder. Eleanor stands beside them, a sea breeze whipping through her hair. She is not wearing a suit. She is in jeans and a thick wool sweater. She looks at Caleb, at the easy way he holds his daughter, at the quiet confidence in his stance. He is the same man she met in the greasy workshop. He has not changed. She has. Lily laughs, a sound that is carried away by the wind. She points to a pod of dolphins leaping in their wake. It is a perfect moment. A moment of shared happiness. They are not a CEO, an engineer, and a child. They are a man, a woman, and a girl on a boat. They look like a family. That evening, after they have docked the boat and put a tired, happy Lily to bed in the small apartment Caleb has built above the workshop, they stand on the pier. The sun has set, leaving streaks of purple and orange across the sky. The water is a dark mirror, reflecting the first stars. The new Helios engine ticks softly as it cools, a quiet, rhythmic sound. They stand close, shoulders almost touching, but not quite. They look out at the water, at the vast open horizon. Eleanor still carries the small metal heart he gave her. It is in her pocket, a constant, solid reminder. She does not need to touch it. She knows it is there. He does not speak. She does not speak. There is nothing that needs to be said. The silence between them is no longer a vacuum. It is full. It is full of respect, of shared trials, of a deep, unspoken understanding. It is full of the quiet promise of a new beginning, waiting for them just beyond the dark water. It is hopeful. And it is enough.